Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys about something that really should be both amusing and maybe sad in a certain way. And that's this idea that people have that the bench press isn't a phenomenal mass builder. Hopefully people agree the bench press is, considered the upper body test of strength, right? The upper body test of strength, and that's even carried over into the NFL on the combine for good reason. And again, these are people with millions and millions of dollars of contracts. There's a lot of money in picking the best athletes. And even then, those experts and coaches, they use it as a valid metric for determining upper body strength because it is. It absolutely is. And I'm not saying there aren't other great tests of upper body strength. I mean, we can make a case for pull-ups or chin-ups, right? We absolutely could. And I think we can. But, the bench press. But then people will argue that, the bench press isn't a great mass builder. But it's like, look at all the muscles involved. And again, when someone has a problem with it, it's they're being contrarian. And it's not to say that, look, whatever some bodybuilder says, well, I find this exercise works my chest a little better. Or they say they don't feel their chest. Well, if your chest isn't being worked on the bench press, you have to be doing the exercise so insanely wrong that I don't even have words to describe it. And you're sure as hell not evidence-based. Because look at the studies that we have on hypertrophy in the bench press. Look at the studies on muscle activation in the bench press. No real expert thinks it's not a phenomenal mass builder for the upper body. Okay? We could argue that for different people, it's because it's a big exercise with a lot of muscles involved and a lot of weight, that for different people, certain muscles are going to be built at different ratios. And that's a fair point, but here's the other point I would make with that. We all do more than one exercise, right? So, this stuff comes up and people say, well, you say the squat, bench, and deadlift are great for hypertrophy. Well, they're powerlifting movements or strength movements. Well, yeah, but we don't just do 3 exercises. Right? I'm certainly not implying that you can maximize 100% of your size with only 3 exercises. Right? That's a straw man argument. It's a straw man argument. What I will say, though, is that the bench press can play a pivotal role in that. And people who think that it's dangerous or whatever, compared to what? What exercises are you going to replace it with that you think are going to be easier on your shoulders because you didn't know how to perform the bench, because you don't set it up correctly? That's not a good excuse. Because what happens when you get on these other things and do the same stuff? You do a bunch of silly shit with other movements, you get hurt too. You get hurt also. Okay? And usually the guys, even the big jacked bodybuilders, you have problems with it. Well, it's usually the drug abuse and combinations are probably as big of a factor as the bench press. Because you're really going to tell me you're less likely to get hurt you're doing heavy dumbbells? Okay. And for hypertrophy work, look how light we often go anyway. It's like watch me doing my hypertrophy work here on the bench. Quality reps, quality volume. I'm not going real heavy. I bench heavy for maximizing my strength and force production. I want to get thicker, clean reps. All right? We pause on the chest, everything stays tight, nice good range of motion, a lot of volume, quality reps. That's how we get big. The bench press can't fit that role. Bench press can't fit that role. The benefit we have with the bench is that compared to all these other movements, we have decades of coaching and biomechanics studying it. That alone gives it an advantage. So even if you have some other exercise that's equal to the bench, it doesn't have the same amount of coaching knowledge and data on it that the bench does. So therefore, it makes it from a programming and coaching perspective potentially inferior. Okay? But when we look at the bench, it builds the entire chest top to bottom. Hey, that is only a weird bodybuilder idea that it doesn't. That's not supported by the research. People say, well, it doesn't build the upper chest. Of course it does. And certain variations of the bench build the upper chest even more. And let's come over and look at that. We can do variations of the bench. If we want to emphasize something a little more, we can change bars. We can change grips. We can even change back angle. Okay. If you need to emphasize something else, we can change those things. We want a little more delt and tricep, we can bring the grip in closer. What? You want more delt, a little more upper chest, you can go to a slight incline. You want more lower chest, you can do a decline, although I don't necessarily recommend it. All right? You want to change the emphasis or worry about overuse, change bars, we can change to a different bar. Problem solved. We have all these specialty bars. How many bars do I have I can bench with? I have a ton. I have a redunculous amount of bars. We can change the range of motion, can change the grip angles, everything. Okay? Bench press. It is one of the king upper body mass builders. And, again, you want to talk about balancing it. You really want to build the whole structure of the upper body and then only have a few gaps to fill in. But you do bench, rowing, and pull-ups. There we go. How about that combination? Do some pull-ups, do some rows to go with your benching, and then whatever bench variations you need. Now you can build one hell of a base doing that. Can't you? Of course we can. Because again, now we're working everything in the upper body. Before people even talk about delts, really you're telling me bench variations or row variations can't build your shoulders? You haven't studied basic biomechanics. And a lot of them can do it in a way that's easy on your joints, if they're done correctly. But we come over to that idea, again, the idea people are like, well, the bench doesn't work the chest. Well, really, every study says otherwise. Your opinion or what you think you feel is irrelevant. Your feelings are not facts. The research shows that bench builds the upper chest and the lower chest and the middle chest. That's what the research shows, and it's very good at it. Unless you run some weird bastardization of it, some ego lifting version of it. Builds the front delts, builds the triceps with, a heavy focus on the lateral head. Okay. It's a phenomenal mass builder, and it's a basic primary exercise that we have strength standards on. You know how you stack up to other people, and I think that's what throws people off. They don't want to be compared to other people. They don't want to deal with the ego lifting in. Well, you're going to be compared to other people. Get over it. And if you're really weak at the bench, then maybe your upper body is lacking the size that you have major weaknesses in your upper body you might need to address. Okay? Just stick with facts here, guys. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.